Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 5 of season 2 of our F123 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend, Formula 1 in the USA for the first time this season, and of course the Miami Grand Prix. If you missed out yesterday's video from Baku, of course it was a bumper sprint race weekend, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But yeah, heading back to Miami though, it was a weirdly strong track for us back in season 1, so hoping we can try and carry that momentum into season 2. Of course, upgrades still going on behind the scenes. We've still got, I think, one upgrade, one major aero upgrade going onto the car. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, we need to keep saving R&D. I think, apart from durability, the cheapest upgrade we can do at the moment is like 1,000 R&D points there. You can see the tyre analytics data. So yeah, really need to try and start earning some more R&D, and also trying to upgrade our facilities as best as possible as well there, of course, to unlock those extra upgrades that we need. So plenty going on behind the scenes within the team at the moment, trying to save as much money as we possibly can. Championship-wise, Max Verstappen still at the top of the table, 4 points between him and Sergio Perez after the opening 4 races. Charles Leclerc now, after finally winning his first race of the season last weekend, now up into P3 ahead of his teammate, and then both Mercedes there rounding out the top 6. Currently still sat in 10th place overall in the Drivers' Championship for us, trying to battle it out with those Alpines, and 6th overall in the Constructors there, a little way behind Aston Martin and Alpine. Of course, if you're new around here and you are enjoying this series as well, make sure you drop a sub on the channel. Obviously, we've ticked over 110k now. We're still obviously pushing on right the way throughout F123. Daily uploads until we win that World Championship. But anyway, let's get on to it though. I look forward to coming back to Miami. Hopefully, the car can deliver. Well, another weekend of opportunity ahead of us back in Miami. Really do feel like if we can maintain a similar sort of performance to what we did last year here, I see no reason why we can't score points. That being said, though, I feel like I remember some of the practice programs being a bit ridiculous. So we'll wait and see as to how we go there. As you can see how Charles Leclerc binned it in qualifying. That is not the line. Also not going to beat around the bush. We all know it to be true. A lot of the time around here is going to be gained over that curbing there. You can see half a second immediately found, maybe even a little bit more. But the AI have traction control, I have that curb. It's how we keep things even here in Miami, is trying to just use a little bit of battery as we head down the back straight. We're definitely not particularly strong on top end speed round here. It's going to be tough out of the final corner. It's a much easier final corner now with the new traction. Definitely not, though, with that much understeer as at the final turn we go. About quarter of a second down there. Not ideal to start, but we can definitely go quicker. And at the final corner then, to finish off my second run, that is going to be purple. We've got a qualifying sim run, so the only other thing we can do is race. Jumping in then to my race simulation run, hoping this one should be a little bit easier than the ERS test there. Is still struggling to try and get the car positioned through this technical first sector there. Those S's, so satisfying when you get them right. But very difficult to do so. It's already dropping half a second then in the first part of the lap. But again, we know where we can claw back a fair old chunk of time. The pair Alpine then very adamant on flexing their muscles early on here in FP1. 1 and 2 early on there as 5/10 up on our first race sim lap. We can definitely do this. And rounding our way then through the final corner. It should be yet another purple score then. So good way to kick off the weekend here from Miami. Like I said, I'm going to try and put less of an emphasis on these free practice programs from now on. But, you know, reading through the comments, it was quite clear that a lot of you still did want to see them. But anyway, let's get into qualifying then. Hopefully, we can return to Q2. Well, there we go then, a sunny Saturday afternoon here from the Miami Gardens, and hopefully we can try and convert that into some good pace here. Try and use the best of our abilities and the best of what the circuit has to offer as well. Can't remember how we got on in qualifying last season. All I remember was just that the race pace was pretty good. Maybe we did a 2-stop that weekend, and it just worked out really nicely for us. But anyway, threading our way through the first couple of corners. Nice and tidy there, but now we've got to try and make it in through the S's and out the other side in one piece. Oh, bottomed out over that curb. And that's basically the run gone immediately then. Just so scary through there. And we just bottomed out on the way in. Obviously with the new floors, how much lower the cars feel now on F123. Just could not find the grip. And of course bottomed out, spat the rear of the car around all over the show. We may as well finish off the lap anyway, so we've got a relative to be going up against. But yeah, this one's basically a write-off. Especially with lines like that. Anyway, up over the line, 28.9 there. Yeah, unsurprisingly, we do go slowest. Looks like Pourchaire, though, carrying a bit more pace here. He's in the top 17 at least. Got a minute left on the clock. Everyone else heading back out for their final runs. Pourchaire currently then P17, but he's only a tenth away from Q2 there. We need about just over a second if we want to make it through, but of course we know we made quite a few mistakes on our first run, so just want to try and lock ourselves in to that second session with a good, clean, tidy lap if possible. Would be nice to get both cars into Q2 for the first time. Well, still far from perfect, but already a second up then as we make our way to the end of Sector 2 and make that curbing as best as possible there. And I mean, when you get that sector hooked up, it is very, very good fun there. You know, the quick flicks through the left and the right, and then back to the left again. Purple, actually, through the middle sector. Goes to show just how strong that really is. But 1.2 seconds up, we aren't guaranteed safety just yet. We need to make sure we get a good run out of this final corner. And that is not going to be the case. Big lock up again. They're really struggling with front locking this weekend, it would appear. 1 second up. This is going to be very, very tight as we round the final corner up over the line. I'm not sure we're through. And there we go then. George Russell fastest. Mercedes trading blows once again there. Pierre Gasly up in at P4. Alpine once again flexing their muscles, but half a tenth, less than half a tenth between myself and Zhou Guanyu there. So we definitely had the pace to be, you know, battling out with those Williams of Alex Albon and the Haas of Lance Stroll. But P17 and P18 there, right behind both Alfa Romeos. Unfortunately for us, both cars out in Q1 yet again. So disappointed with that, but I know we've got good pace. Let's get into the GP.
We're here in the coastal shores of Florida for the Miami Grand Prix, which has become the 11th Formula One track held in the United States. Grandstands are packed for what we hope is going to be another fantastic race. A lap of the Miami Grand Prix features 3.36 miles of track around the Hard Rock Stadium, and 19 corners make up the Miami International Autodrome, which will challenge the drivers in a tight wheel-to-wheel race. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Albon, Stroll, Bottas, Sargent, Ocon, Joe, Magnussen, Mr. Monaco, Theo Pourchaire, Hulkenberg, De Vries, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Miami GP, and obviously we took some engine, not penalties technically, but we took more out of our engine allowance this weekend to hopefully give ourselves a few more ponies, so fingers crossed today we're not going to have the same straight line speed issues as we had in Baku last weekend. Lining up alongside our teammate Theo Pourchaire, we didn't see him at all in the first 3 races of the season, and now we constantly seem to be stuck next to him. Yeah, Bottas, Magnussen, Zhou Guanyu are 3 of the cars in front of me, just in a very rogue order. We're getting ready then for round 5 of the year. Magnussen, like we said, with just starting in front of us. Of course, I'm sure Haas want a good race here, and I'm sure Logan Sargent, another driver. First points ever in Formula 1 last weekend. This is as close to a home Grand Prix as I think he gets in Formula 1. So yeah, I'm sure he's hoping for a good race here today. Waiting on the grid then for those 5 red lights. Most cars look like they're doing the soft to medium strap. And here we go then for 5 red lights here in Miami. Lights out and away we go there, and trying to avoid the wheel spin in first gear. Someone struggled to go. That's Lando Norris. Going absolutely nowhere then as we head down towards turn 1. We're just going to get bunched in on the outside there as we try to look around the outside of Kevin Magnussen through turn 2. Give him the room. We don't really want to go wheel to wheel with Magnussen. He's got a tendency to lose half a front wing there, and it's just which car he loses it with. But around the outside we'll go then. As you can see, Lando Norris, after that bad start, still struggling to get the car positioned exactly where he needs it through the next couple of corners there. Logan Sargent just sitting behind Alex Albon, who's having yet another good weekend in his Williams, as I did feel a big hit there from Kevin Magnussen behind us. Lucky we're able to correct the slide there, gather it all up on the exit of the corner, but Magnussen clearly want to try and find a way back past us early on here. To the outside the Dane will go as we get down to the end of the back straight, and no chance there, matey boy. You can try and go aggressive with me, but we're not going to allow you just to do that. You know, this isn't NASCAR. We might be in the land of NASCAR, but yeah, you can't just do bump and runs in the world of Formula 1. So we make our way through, though, going to head out onto the bypass. Looks like Carlos Sainz even still leading the way at the front of the field. Both Mercs, though, into P2 and P3 there. So Red Bull, I'm sure, obviously after not winning either race in Azerbaijan last weekend, want to try and get back on the top step once again. As Ocon, a little bit early there on the brakes, will slip down the inside of the Frenchman. Thank you very much. So yeah, the Spaniard will lead then at the end of lap 1, looking for his first win of the season. Both Mercs P2 and P3 as we're up to P15. Here comes Esteban back at me though. That Alpine car, we know just how quick it is still. Try and go side by side with him. It's definitely, you know, in terms of drivers plus car performance, 4th strongest at the moment. Aston Martin have got a better car, but often Oscar and Logan have struggled to get everything out of it early on this season, but we will just about there be able to keep Ocon at bay once more. So that is really reassuring to see there. I definitely feel like we've got some pace over the Alfa Romeos early on this afternoon. It's actually Lando Norris still that is the cork in the bottle. He started this race on mediums, so I just think McLaren aren't convinced about the tyre life this afternoon, but we're going to have to again use a lot of batteries. Zhou Guanyu sees us though. Going to try and force him to the left-hand side there as back over to the racing line will go. Braking about 130 metres out from the hairpin and around the outside. He does give you some room. Great racing respect there by Zhou Guanyu, and we'll try and swoop all the way around the outside, which we will. Those are the sorts of battles you want on F123s. Here he comes back at me as we head in towards turn 1 again. A little bit of a squeeze there, tiny pinch to the apex, but we'll make it through. And we're into P14 then as DRS now enabled. Right, what's the straight line speed going to be like now then as we try and close in on Valtteri Bottas? Oh, I thought about it, just did not quite know where the Alfa Romeo was going to brake. I don't know why. Struggling to spot the braking marker down there this weekend. Except don't really know why. No rhyme or reason to it. Just, yeah, don't have the confidence on the brakes as... Well, was not expecting a new fastest lap of the day. Don't know how we've managed that. But, I mean, if we could get the bonus point, I'd be happy. Right, this time around, then we're going to try and get a run on Bottas. Or no, we're not. That Alfa Romeo, that Ferrari power unit, still providing him with a lot of ponies as we head back down the straight once again. Trying to save battery as best as possible as well. And could this be a carbon copy of the battle we had with Zhou Guanyu just a couple of laps prior around the outside? Oh, a little kick, a wheel spin that time round. But again, we will swoop through there. And again, we will gain another place on an Alfa Romeo. Just trying to defend, but... Oh, Bottas thought about it. I was late on the brakes, though. Deep on the brakes down at turn 1. But we slow it down. We kind of have to force him out in the end. Just due to my poor track positioning, but we're through. Oh, that's not the message we want to hear. Team already talking about losing tyre grip pretty soon. I mean, the last few laps, we've really just spent studying and analysing this gaggle of cars in front of us. And now, after I've pretty much charged back at the battery pack, we're going to try and see if we can get a run on Lando Norris down the inside. That was brave. It was bold. Is it going to be beautiful? We're still side by side off the corner. Lando Norris not wanting to give up, but we've made it through. And that one was a big old send then on Lando Norris. I think it was completely fair. I'm sure the McLaren man a little bit put out by it, but we're through and up another spot then. Into 12th place we go as we're about to start lap 10 here in Miami. Top 6 still running away there, but it looks like they've taken Oscar Piastri and Pierre Gasly on for a ride. That's interesting then. Lance Stroll now with mechanical issues. It's down the inside of Sargent. It's another big dive bomb. That time around, though, it's not going to quite work out for me. And Sargent will hang on in his Aston Martin. As Lance Stroll then with some issues. Here goes Albon to the inside of the Haskell. Logan Sargent, again, just having to wait in the wings. As can we try and get around the outside of the Aston? No, not quite enough grip there off the corner. Albon, I have noticed, though, he's on a set of medium compound tyres. There should be a good opportunity to undercut him. Yes, I'm still salty about the fact he managed to do the same thing to me all the way back in Saudi Arabia, but we momentarily there got Lando Norris out of the DRS range. Unfortunately, I think that now has gone away again as the McLaren car hanging pretty close. Here's Sargent, though, trying to go defensive on me. Don't really want to be sat behind Lance Stroll all too long. Go on, get around the outside of Logan that time around. Yes, we will. Slowed it down in a much, better fashion there as big kicker wheel spin as we try and put the power down out of the final corner. Stroll, though, still struggling, so I don't want to get stuck behind him. We can avoid it. There's a lot of dive bombs coming in at the moment. We're getting a little bit ragged with the drive in there as make sure we give the Haskell some space, but we will make it through. And now we've got to go in pursuit of Alex Albon. We have taken so much out of the tyres in the last couple of laps, but yeah, the AI very, very confident on the brakes here in Miami, so we kind of had to be more confident. You can see now why I was so desperate to try and get the jump on Lance Stroll there. The gap already 4 seconds to the Canadian as Lando Norris has found a way around him as well, but into the pits will come then at the end of lap 12. Hopefully going to try and get an undercut on Alex Albon, and then who knows what we might be able to do in the second half of this afternoon. Stroll, Sargent both into the pit lane as well, so reassuring that everyone is on a pretty similar strategy.
Okay, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car. Right, let's go. Come on. Perfect.
Disappointing news for Oscar.
We're happy with that one. Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
I would love to get a word in edgeways, Mark, but thank you for all of that. Yeah, disappointing news then for Oscar Piastri as we close in on half distance. He could be set to struggle in the second half of the afternoon. You can already see losing touch slightly with the Alpine and the big six that were in front of him, but we need to try and get our head down and make sure we're ahead of Albon. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, more cars into the pit lane then, so we should be back inside the top 10 in the next couple of laps, back up into 12th place there as Lando and Nick de Vries now the two cars in front of me. Probably, I mean, surely most of the medium runners are going to box now as well if they're going to have to take the hards to the end. Could they try and go the other way? Lots of cars into the pit lane at the end of 14, so we should get confirmation then if we're ahead of Alex Albon or not, which it looks like we should be. Where are we going to be out relative to Oscar Piastri, as well? Nick de Vries still between us, but Piastri on a set of hards, only a couple of seconds up the road. So safely now ahead of Alex Albon. He's now been brought back into the clutches of Logan Sargent, but yeah, points are definitely, as long as I don't keep doing that, you know, points are definitely attainable. It's how many points are attainable. Nick de Vries actually having a look around the outside of Oscar Piastri down the end of the back straight, but old, worn-out mediums against fresh hards aren't going to provide him with enough grip there to make anything happen. Must also be said, I'm pretty certain last season here, I actually spent the late race stages trying to close down Oscar Piastri. Didn't close up to him. That's why we didn't score points last season, as, well, pretty much alongside Nick de Vries already before we even got to the DRS zone. But yeah, maybe this time around then we can try and rewrite the wrongs of last season's campaign there. Of course, it would have been our first points had I got up to Oscar, of course, back in his McLaren days. But yeah, now it should be a little bit easier this weekend. The only thing I am worried about, of course, is still whether Oscar obviously fixes that Aston Martin and then he's rapid again as Esteban Ocon behind us. He nabbed my fastest lap. Magnussen, even quicker than him. Here we go then. Oscar Piastri gaining. Not quite close enough this time around, but hopefully if we can follow him through this middle tight technical sector, should be a done deal. I said I knew after qualifying we had good pace in the car this afternoon, but yeah, really everything has gone very well for us so far. There was practically pushing the Aston Martin along. Don't want to get too kissy with those Aramco sponsor boards, but anyway, so we launch it then out onto the bypass once again. Oscar Piastri, I think he knows to pick and choose his fights now in the world of F1. We squeeze by, and we're up then into 8th place. Gasly still trying to hang on to the coattails of the front runners. Verstappen, championship leader, down in 6th. But Merck now with a 1-2 at the front. Alex Albon trying to complete the move on Oscar Piastri behind me as well then, as into the final 12 laps we go. Piastri not trying to make it easy for him. Luckily we're out of the DRS range, so we're not helping either of them along. But if they could keep battling, give me a bit more breathing room, I would not complain. To be honest, as we start lap 20, I was expecting just to have a pretty calm and collected end to the Miami Grand Prix, but Pierre Gasly actually getting his elbows out with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, our 2 most recent Formula 1 world champions. So, could we close up to them by the end of this race? The gap was opening up. They're definitely quicker on raw pace than me, but they battle, and they lose like 2 seconds in the space of a lap. Yellow's out. Someone's got issues. It's a car behind us. Please don't be Albon. I think it might be Logan Sargent. Nope. Is it? Yes, it is. I think it's Logan Sargent. Going slowly then, late on in the day, and it looked like he was dead set to score some points. No, Oscar Piastri and Gasly, both out of the Grand Prix. We've got a red flag. So this really changes things up then late on in the day here in Miami. 2 mechanical failures almost instantly here. And now, well, we're basically going to do a, 5-lap sprint to the end of the race on a set of softs?
So let's think very carefully about our strategy for the rest of this race.
Really, really easy strategy, Mark. We're just going to go on a set of soft compound tyres then to the end of the GP here. And suddenly now, anything can happen. Leclerc and Verstappen on mediums, 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go. And could we snooker away something crazy there? Hamilton going nowhere off the start line as well then. He's on a set of mediums as well. So we're going to try and get down the inside. We've already jumped Charles Leclerc. We might even get Verstappen as well then, as we make our way through the first couple of corners. Sainz and Russell side by side at the front of the field, but look at us go straight back up the order as we make our way in through the S's for the first time off this restart then. And well, surely against these medium runners, we've got to just try and go for it there as George Russell leads the way then for the first time this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. Hamilton still in hot pursuit. We know how much he'd like to win more races in America, but here comes the Dutchman, Max Verstappen again, all over the back of me. But what a lifeline we have been given late on in the afternoon here. Drain as much of the battery as we sensibly can there. And look at that, it seems like it's only Perez and I that have gone on the soft, so maybe not making it out of Q1 here has absolutely saved us, because it meant we could drag an extra set of soft compound tyres into the rest of the Grand Prix later on this afternoon. And crazy how suddenly those little things can have such a big effect on the bigger picture here. Down the straights, we've got nothing. These Mercedes cars are and everything else so powerful and so efficient down the straights. But you know what? Top end, depending on how early Lewis brakes. Oh, that was scary. Lewis broke just early enough that I couldn't go for it, but too early that was not comfortable for us. But anyway, end of lap 24 then. We are suddenly into P5 here. Perez now has found a way around Carlos Sainz, so clearly the Mexican still fancies a shot at the victory today. Could we get fastest lap back? I think it's still Kevin Magnussen that is hanging on to that bonus point at the moment, so that could all change late on as George Russell trying to sprint away here. 4 laps to go of the Miami Grand Prix. Around the outside of Lewis, a gap opened up at the last second, but not enough to really make an impact. DRS about to be re-enabled, and Checo Perez, I'm sure, wants to get back within the range there. Russell, new fastest lap. Any hope of a bonus point gone. Sainz now starting to lose touch from Checo Perez in front of him, as Sergio still in hot pursuit of George Russell at the front of the field here. We're just trying to save a tiny bit of battery. Really think about these last couple of laps. It's going to be like a game of chess here. And, well, we're a novice with a couple of queens on the board, and we're going up against grandmasters with a few pawns. Maybe, I mean, I'd still probably lose that, to be completely honest, but yeah, Sainz, Hamilton just in front of me still. Their car performance so much better than mine still. We've got so much work still to do in this series, but 2 more laps to go here in Miami. I just want to try and save the battery and go for one big assault right towards the end. Here goes Lewis Hamilton, though, to the outside of Carlos Sainz as we head down the bypass once more, and Hamilton will swoop all the way through there. Sainz clearly not fancying his chances, not feeling confident in that Ferrari. And will we now see Hamilton try to break free, as we've got to try and use the run we've got on Carlos then to the inside of the Ferrari on the run back down in towards turn 1. Pretty even on the brakes, but we'll slide into the apex there. And 2 laps to go. We could get a podium. Back to start the final lap then, and Sergio Perez still with a bit between his teeth there. How many races so far this season have come down to the wire? George Russell wants to try and get Mercedes' first proper win of the campaign, and Hamilton trying to defend for a podium as well there. Verstappen now seems to have found a way around Carlos Sainz as well, so the Ferrari really struggling to get temperature into his tyres. No idea what's happened to Charles Leclerc, must be even further back in the midfield, but trying to just hang close to Hamilton, try and make sure we keep the DRS. What will Sergio Perez be able to do against George Russell at the front of the field? Part of you wonders whether it's worth waiting down this first straight to try and get a run down the big one at the end of the lap there, but are we going to be within the range of Hamilton? The AI get fantastic kick off that corner, and I think we just about were able to hang on. We'll get confirmation in just a second. No, we didn't. Hamilton broke free in the right moment there, so we might not be able to do anything against Lewis. Sergio Perez, though, hounding George Russell at the front of the field there, as we've just got to try and navigate our way through this final sector. Keep it clean, keep it tidy. We've taken so much out of these tyres, as you can already see they're sliding around as we round our way through the chicane there. A lot of curb, just give us a little bit of safety from Max Verstappen behind. But are we going to see Checo Perez be able to do anything down this final straight there? I think George Russell has just about got the distance over him, and it looks like Sergio Perez, for the second race in a row, is going to come agonisingly close to the victory there, but is once again going to come up short. Round in the final corner, George Russell will win the Miami Grand Prix there. Checo P2, Hamilton third, and we narrowly miss out in P4.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. What do you think it was today, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. Let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. And in the Drivers' Championship, the points that Sergio Perez earned today see him take over the lead. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They demonstrated a very delicate touch in close proximity to other cars, as well as showing a lot of maturity and patience in difficult situations.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Miami Grand Prix, and George Russell back on top for Mercedes. They're fifth on the grid to a P1 victory there. Beautiful scenes by our fellow Brit. Sergio Perez P2 ahead of Hamilton and myself there, 17th to 4th. I was quite happy. I was quite content with finishing 8th, to be honest, this afternoon, but that red flag really did change things late on in the day there. Verstappen, Sainz, Ocon and Sargent, after scoring his first F1 points last weekend, seems to have decided he likes doing that. P8 there for him, 4 points on the board, beating out Charles Leclerc and Bottas, if I'm not mistaken, Alfa Romeo's first points of the campaign as well. McLaren struggled a bit this weekend. Lando down in P12 there. Nick de Vries was running in last by a long way, but that red flag saved him, and unfortunately for us, Teo Pourchaire unfortunately finishing in last. Pierre Gasly and Oscar Piastri, the two cars not seeing the checkered flag this weekend, and that means championship-wise, Well, Perez came in 4 points back. He's going to leave 4 points ahead of his teammates Max Verstappen there. George Russell now leapfrogs his way back up into P3 ahead of Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Hamilton now comfortably ahead of Oscar Piastri in 6th there. We're back up to 8th, 1 point behind the Aston Martin car as well, so we'd love to be able to try and hang on with him, maybe in the battle for best of the rest as the season goes on. As we said, Bottas there with Alfa Romeo's first points of the year means constructors-wise, Red Bull 69 ahead of Ferrari. Mercedes claw it back in, though, this weekend, and Alpine still hanging around in P4 there. 6 points back now from Aston Martin, further pulling away from Williams and Haas as well. It's absolutely things you love to see there. And yep, Alfa Romeo now leave AlphaTauri as the only team without a point on the board. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back when Formula 1 returns tomorrow ready. I'm pretty certain we're in Imola. That is going to be fun. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.